Thanks everyone for joining another cmBuilder workshop session. I forgot to write my monologue for today, and by that I mean I forgot to ask ChatGPT to write my monologue. So let's get it started, right? So this will be the last workshop of this year, and I'm gonna go over a couple of things over here that I have prepared for you guys. So I've been talking about the new layout for a while, but today I'm gonna do a thorough walkthrough just because we will release this as the main layout in a couple weeks. So I wanted to have in recording the instructions and how to navigate through the new things, right? So after that, I'm gonna talk a little bit about how I've seen people organize the different access and different teams to cmBuilder. So it's suggestions for you guys, but I would love to also hear what you were doing as of today, how you were kind of dividing the different workflows in cmBuilder for different teams. Then we're going to talk about some tips and tricks, callouts updates, how to import Revit divided by phases, split mesh, plane support. That's a very technical name, but we're going to understand that in a minute, and how to create foundation walls in different ways, right? So just keep couple housekeeping items over here. The recording will be available probably by the end of today, right? And please check our previous workshops on YouTube, especially the last 2 or 3 ones, just because gives a lot of good content on our latest developments. Cool. Use the QA or the chat for questions. I would prefer the chat because it's more kind of dynamic. You build more of our community over here. Okay. Okie dokie. So let's start, right? So now our main topic here, and I really thank Amir for this new template of our presentation over here. A lot of animations that I was not expecting that was things will fly around in my screen, but that's great. I love the dynamic stuff. So yeah, talking about the new layout workflow, right? So this will be default in a few weeks, but in the meantime, we need to turn it on our user settings, right? So just opening cmBuilder here quickly. Probably a lot of you are working with cmBuilder right now with the layout in which you are seeing the milestones over here at the top. Has been like that for a long time. And now you can just go in here in your user settings and then change it to the edit presentation as a timeline. So if you turn this on, you will notice that the milestones over there at the top will not show up on the top anymore. Will show up over here at the bottom, right? So I'm going to go through the items of the layout over here on the presentation first. Then I'm going to show them how they look like in cmBuilder. Okay. So there are two main things about the new layout. One is that the site plan navigation mode, which is what you use mostly when you're doing you're creating your simulation, right? And the main changes over here is that the milestone will show up at the bottom, giving you an intuitive timeline for you to look at, and it's easier to navigate between the milestones, and it's easy adjustable in terms of how many milestones you want to see in your screen and things like that, right? So there are two modes: the site plan navigation mode and the presentation mode, but I'm going to talk about those two. And let's understand the new items over here. First of all, we have the milestone bar over here at the top, where you can see the names of several milestones at once, and you can click at them so you can flip through the milestones. And you can also see over here at the bottom the mode toggle. So basically, this is how you change from site plan navigation mode to presentation mode, right? So also you have these commands over here to navigate through the milestones, and going back and forth, or going to the first one or to the last one. And over here at the corner, we have the zooming of this timeline bar, the milestone bar, if you want to, how you define how many you want to see in your view, and also a little shortcut reminder over here so you can see what are the shortcuts that you can use. And just a reminder that you can always see the milestones in a list by clicking on your project schedule, right? So let's go back over here to cmBuilder, and we can see how that looks like. So, okay, got confused over here for a second. Let me get out of my presentation here. There you go. So the first thing is the milestone bar over here at the bottom, right? So now you can see that the milestones are showing like this, and you can scroll this sideways so you can see a bunch of them at once. You can always, like if I move forward over here and I'm looking at the milestones, the milestone that I'm active at the moment, it's not in this view. You will see where it is indicated over here. And also you can always click on the any milestone to activate that. And if you double click on that, you can adjust the name of that milestone as well. In this milestone bar, you'll see that there will be like a little option over here where you can edit the name. I cannot edit the date of this milestone because it's connected to a schedule, right? I can add milestones before and after. I can open my project schedule and I can delete this milestone. So what I mentioned about the project schedule, you can always open that so you can see your milestone here in the same list view that you had before. The same will happen when you click over here. And at the end of this milestone bar, you can also see like options to add milestones and to show your view weekly or monthly or by index. I prefer index just because it gives me like a very straightforward count of like which milestone I'm in, right? Sometimes if you have like this view in weeks and then like two milestones will fall in the same week, you have like week one and week one over here. And then sometimes it's hard to, when you're communicating with people, like go to week one and then there are two milestones on week one, right? So I prefer working with the index. Okay. The mode toggle, it's over here at the bottom, right? So I can go into site plan navigation mode, which is the one that I am right now, where I'm gonna do most of my actions. And I can also change it to presentation mode, which I will explain in a minute, right? So these is how you change from one to the other. Over here at the bottom, we have arrows for you to go back and forth on the milestones, or you can go to the first one or the last one, right? I really suggest that everyone learn how to use the shortcuts. Super simple in your keyboard. The arrows left and right to go to the next milestone or backwards. And you can also hold control and do the same arrows to go to the first and to the last milestone. Okay. Over here at the bottom, we have our zooming options. So I can like make the timeline show the milestone bar show more milestones. And like when I bring this like to the minimum size over here, like in this case, I won't be able to show all milestones because I have more milestones than like I can fit in this, but you can always play around to figure out like what is the best view for you. Okay. Another thing is that if you hover your mouse over here on this bar, you can see that if you hold shift and you scroll your mouse wheel, it will go back and forth on this on the navigation bar to left and right. Okay. Over here we have our shortcut keys. So this is just like a reminder of like how you can like use shortcuts to be more efficient when you're doing the work. And that's it for our main site plan navigation mode, right? So this it's the type of like improvements that goes a long way when you start using it. Every single person that we've showed this to like have gave us like positive feedback about like having a better view on your timeline over here at the bottom. But I really want to hear what you guys think about it, so let us know in the comments, or you can always go over here in the question mark and give us a feature request about like improvements that you want to see on these new tools. Okay. The second mode, let's go back over here. The second mode is the presentation mode, right? So presentation mode, I've shown this also like several times already, but let's go deeper today on like the commands and everything over here. But one of the latest improvements on this tool that we've done is that now when you're in presentation mode, your scenario remains editable. This is a great improvement because sometimes you're doing your presentation and you notice that you want to change things, you want to move things around, then you don't need to leave presentation mode anymore. Like if you double click on an object while you're in presentation mode, this will like open the editing capacity of that object, and you still can control your slides while you're editing things, right? So also another improvement for this is that you have more slides now you can see in the same screen, and the total duration of like the presentation is visible. You can scrub this little thing over here to see like a preview of your presentation, and it's easier to adjust the slides as a whole, right? So understanding a little bit about our items over here on the screen, we have the milestone and duration bar over here. Like there's an edit bar on top of the milestones that shows the duration of your presentation, right? There's slides bar showing over here which slides you have, like what are the camera angles, what are the transitions that you're gonna have in your timeline, in your presentation. The toggle navigation bar remains the same compared to the previous view, like the site plan navigation. The only addition is that now there is a play button over here, so you can like just see a preview of the whole thing. We now have an option for you to choose what play speed you want to see. Like sometimes you want to just like quickly visualize how things will play, so you can increase the speed of your play mode. The zoom bar and shortcut bar shortcut toggles over here as well, like the same idea as before. We now have like the ability to see the presentation settings over here at the bottom, and different play modes over here as well. Okay, so let's go back into the view here, and I'm gonna go and turn on my presentation mode as before. And now let's go over some of these items, right? So as I mentioned before, let's say that I'm working on this presentation, and then I am here in this milestone, like in this slide and whatnot, and I notice that like, oh, I actually need to change like where the location of this 3D label is. I can now like go in here and then move this object without leaving the presentation mode. As you can see, I'm still in presentation mode, but I'm editing elements. So this is a big improvement because it allows you to work faster when you notice that you need to make changes on your view, on your simulation. Okay. So the duration bar that we have over here on the top is contains this little control over here that we call like the scrub. So you can like just drag this to like see where like your camera will be in any point in time. It's kind of like giving you a better control to see a preview of like the things that will be on your screen and how the camera will move and so on. So that can give you like a better idea of like what you need to adjust in terms of camera angles and so on. So it's a great way to view that. And I also like to use that to kind of like preview how the presentation visuals will play out. So like, for example, if I want to see the presentation, the pouring of this foundation, I can drag this to see like the direction of that pouring and like how long it's going to take, and see a preview of that animation to understand if there's anything that I need to choose, or to change. So this is a great way of previewing that. You have your milestone bar over here at the top showing like which slides are containing that milestone. So this bar will adjust to fit all the slides that are in that milestone. The slide bar over here at the bottom will give you the option for you to double click on the slide, and then you can create your presentation for that slide, just like you do for any like since forever, right? So you can capture your camera angles, you can do your call outs, measure distances, and all of that. But the main thing over here is that now you can adjust the duration of these slides directly from here. So you can decide like how long you want that slide to last in your preview, and if you want to increase the duration for the camera transition, you can go over here in this command and just like increase this duration directly from this toggle. Okay. So the slide bar is like that. If you want to add new slides while you're doing your presentation, you can click on this three dot menu over here and you can add a new slide. You can duplicate a slide so you can like retain the same items that you added over there, like callouts, dimensions, and whatnot, and just change the camera angle if you want to. You can export slides from here. So like all the commands related to management for the slides will be contained on this little three dot menu over here. Okay. So just showing like a couple of the elements that I showed before in the presentation. The difference here is that we have like now the preview presentation button, which is you can use space to like play and go ahead. And for duration of multiple slides, I saw over there that someone asked, you can do that now. You can hold control and select multiple slides and then go ahead and like adjust their duration here. Cool. Something that like it was missing from the previous version that now is available over here as well now. Okay, so you can select a bunch of these guys and just adjust their duration accordingly. The play speed, like pretty self-explanatory. If I hit play over here with like 4x, this will go faster through the presentation. So it's easier for me to kind of like review a couple things if I want to, like that. The same idea of like the fit to the timeline over here, where you can see a bunch of slides and you like in your view at once. You can like change the zooming from this command here. You can also use the same shift scroll to go back and forth on the slide view, right? You can open the presentation settings from here, right? So this button was like on the top of the previous slide manager. Now it's over here at the bottom and it will open the same configurations. And just a reminder that a lot of times people want to like create their presentations and not show the dates. Like when you play the presentation here, for example, this is showing the dates that I have in my schedule. Sometimes you don't want to commit with a date. Maybe it's too early on your planning and whatnot. You can choose to show the relative date instead of the calendar date. So when you click on this, the timeline at the bottom will show like just a kind of like generic representation of months and years, depending on what you would choose over here. But the dates that you choose in your schedule are not showing on that card anymore, right? So as you can see, when I click on this, those dates will go away. Cool. So yeah, and the last thing about the presentation mode here is that I can either play the presentation from the beginning when I click on this. It will always go back to the beginning when I play the presentation, or I can click on the slide. And if I want to see how things will play off from this slide onwards, I can always select the slide over here and then I can click on play from current slide. So this will just start playing the presentation from that point onwards. Okie dokie. There you go. So the next thing is just like the new layout workflow for the play mode, right? So whenever you are in play mode, like when you play the presentation here, you will play like the timeline will show at the bottom, like with where you can skip through and like and jump to different milestones. But one quick thing to mention is that the commands for the play to go out of like element, to go out of this mode and back and forth and the milestones and whatnot, we will only show if you hit pause with your keyboard, right? So right now I'm hitting space on my keyboard, sorry, to pause the presentation or not. Or if you hover your mouse down over here. So like while this is playing, if I hover my mouse, I will see like this will expand and I can control more things over here. And I can exit the full screen where this will play, but not in full screen. Or I can exit the whole kind of like play mode and so on. Okay. So this was a quick run through of like everything related to the presentation and new layout that is gonna go live in a few weeks. So in a few weeks, what will happen is that in the user settings, you will still have this toggle here, but the toggle will be inverted. It will invert for you to go back to the previous mode, but like the default mode will be the new one, the new layout. And if you decide for some reason to go back to the previous one, you can click on this button over here to go to that mode, right? So we will keep that for a while, but eventually this will be the only way to see your layout. Okay, so I'm gonna just hit pause over here for a second to see if there are any questions, anything that stands up over here. Nick, did you read everything?
Yeah, we do have a few questions. So Koi is asking, can we have an option to show the date before activity names?
In the timeliner, you're talking
Correct.
about like this over here, like to invert.
And in the site plan navigation mode, I
Oh,
believe
like to
is
invert these to have the date before the name. No, we don't have that option yet, but that might be a good request for us. What else?
Another question. Okay, that's more context. I understand. So, okay, or ability to group milestones or
For
tasks
tasks in the
under a
group.
group.
Example, individual task milestone for each trading, a zone ability be grouped together for one presentation, or another major milestone, but individual in another presentation. Yeah, so we don't have that yet, like in the way that you described, but what you can do is if you're communicating this with trades, when you're exporting this in your live link, you can lock it into presentation mode, and you can just say like, I want this link to show only milestones from this date to this date, and then that person that have this link, that they will only be able to visualize that range of your milestones. So depending on what you're doing, that can be worth to explore. Okay.
Jacob's question we answered about editing duration of multiple slides at the same time. The answer is yes, you could do that. Koi is asking another question about can we capture the same view angle instead of basically modifying them one by one?
So you don't need to. Like the thing about the view angles is that it's something that I really like to also remind everyone is that you don't need to have a view angle for your slides. So as you can see over here, all of these slides do not have a view angle because like in my presentation, they will inherit where my camera rested like on the last slide that had a camera angle. So basically I can add options, I can add callouts over here. Like for example, I can go to this slide and add a callout, right? So hello, right? And as you can see, the callout's there, but I don't need to add a camera angle for that. So I've seen a lot of times people like saving camera angles for every single slide. You don't need to. You can simply like leave it without having the camera angle change, and you will inherit the previous one. But let's say that you created a different camera angle at this milestone, right? So at this slide, and you wanna go back to the previous one on the next slide. So basically what you do, you just need to activate the next slide, you know, and then, you activate this camera angle here. You click on this slide to activate this camera angle, and then you go to the slide that you want to apply this camera angle to, and then you go ahead and capture it. So basically, I'm applying this camera angle to this slide with that action. Okay, so you just need to like select which camera angle you want, and then go into the slide that you want, put that camera angle in, and then double click, capture camera angle, and you got it. Cool.
And then another question from Jacob is, can we use the speed button when you're recording?
So there will be a change coming in the recording stage. Is that the speed button? Actually, can you? I don't know. Never tried that. Let me see. So presentation visuals,
The live test.
live test. Love it. So when I hit allow, play, then my thing is not expanding over here. Okay, it looks like you can't, but the reason why you can't is because like this would affect the camera movements, like how we capture those camera movements, the camera angles, might be a little bit choppy or something like that. But we are changing this, like there's already like a development happening related to a new way to export the videos where you'll be able to export MP4 directly from the browser, and also the quality of that capture will be better. So like the camera movements and whatnot will allow you won't need to keep recording things like with a slower speed. So I believe that in the next step we will be able to allow you to record in a higher speeds. Cool. Yes, Terrace, you can slow down the recording when you're doing the recording of your video over here. You can simply slow down the recording from this and speed it up later on a video editing tool. And this case would apply for when we already have different, and now we want to go back to, okay, cool. Awesome. So I think I covered all the questions. So let's go now to the next part of our presentation. And this part of the presentation I want to discuss, and it's kind of like I want to create an open channel over here to hear also like how you guys do on your own companies. This will help us like develop better like cmBuilder, and especially related to collaboration and permissions and whatnot. But I want to talk about how to organize different teams using cmBuilder. Across your company, right? So note that these are just examples that like I've seen from other customers, and you can adapt this to whatever needs you have, right? Depending on how your team is organized. But please, like while I'm explaining this, share in the chat how you use it, who in your company like usually like put their hands into creative the simulations, or to view, or to comment, and so on and so forth. Like what works for you, what doesn't work, and so we can kind of like create a open discussion over here. Okay, so I divided this process into 5 different steps, right? So one is to define which teams will be using cmBuilder. Like, then we will review which tool sets do you have available and how you want them to be like used. Defining the level of engagement that each team will have, like which person will have, assign the correct permissions, and then train that team, right? So the first thing I want to talk about is how we define those teams. So from what I've seen, like the 3 biggest categories are like people that are in the office. So would be like the VDC in BIM professionals, people that are working with 3D models every day, and so on. Estimators and schedulers, and the marketing team as well. That would be like sometimes doing some touch-ups before you present this into in a pursuit or like to a customer. And also we have the field people, like people that will be on the construction site, like site superintendents, knowing all the experience that they have with like the site layout and whatnot, project managing coordinators, safety managers, and so on, and external teams as well, like consultants, trades, and clients, right? So this is what I've seen that most of the people like they are collaborating with cmBuilder will be sharing across, and you define in your company like who is going to be using cmBuilder and accessing it. After that, we can review which tool sets you gonna like you expect them to use, right? So for example, for a user that will have view only, for example, let's say a customer, right? You need to let them know how to access, how to navigate, how to use the share links, how to adjust their graphic settings and the different navigation modes that we have. So maybe in other teams or like other users, you want them to just do some basic editing, right? So just adding resources, just using the tree structure to control the visibility, like to understand what are the elements are there on your site, do some measurements, do some comments, right? So this will fall into like the basic editing category. But if you go a little bit further, you have like full editing capabilities, like creating sequences, applying um, uh, connecting the different parts to different milestones, right? Doing the excavation planning, doing building splits to plan the concrete pours, annotations, presentations, sharing exports. So like people that will actually be doing the bulk of the work. But sometimes these people that will be doing that, they don't necessarily have access to all the models, to all the drawings, or they don't really need to care about that. So like you might have a different group of people that would be working on the project setup. So importing models, importing drawings, defining the schedule of your timeline, like defining the project north, updating files, syncing schedules and things like that, and advanced tools like importing Blossom, geolocating models, creating animations, doing the advanced duplicate. So you have like collaboration in between scenarios and custom terrains and things like that, right? So this is just an example of like different tool sets that you might define that your team, different teams will be using, right? From here onwards, you define what is the level of engagement that you expect from those teams. So for example, the VDC BIM team will go all the way to the advanced tools. So like they need to know how to use every single tool in cmBuilder. But maybe the estimators schedulers, they will work only with viewing capabilities, or they can work to the point where like in the project setup, they will be working with like importing the schedules and updating the schedules and something like that. Marketing team can have full capability of editing everything, so they can touch up like different elements in your view, creating annotations and things like that. Site supers might, like this is where the interaction between these two teams, like the VDC people and the site supers, is what I've seen that changes the most in between companies, you know, because sometimes you expect the site supers to be viewers only, but sometimes you want them to do some minor touching, like changing a crane location, editing the fence like shape and things like that. So you might want them to have like commenting capabilities, but sometimes the site supers are the main people like we use in SimBuilder, so they do the whole thing. Like there are companies where site supers are the main users of SimBuilder, and they take full control of everything, right? So there's just an example over here of how what is the level of engagement that you might expect from your team, and from here we will define like what are the permission levels that each person will have, right? Is a site super will become like a project admin or an editor? Is the like who is going to be the able to create projects in your company? Like it's going to be one main admin, or you will expect the managers also to create projects, right? So these are things that you can adjust at your company level to make sure that everybody will have the correct control of like things that are under the umbrella. And you can even create teams to like assign like the permissions to a group of people instead of just one single user, right? So once you review that with your team and like define the permissions of everything, create the teams, that's when you're gonna empower these professionals to work with SimBuilder and make sure they're extracting value out of it, right? So the next step is to coordinate training sessions. So these training sessions, I've seen a lot of different companies like coordinated their own training sessions, conducting their own training sessions where they create these agendas and like they define like, okay, I want to train the site supers to learn the basics, the like project managers and the marketing teams to like use existing models and like use a scenario that is already set up for them. But the VDC people, the VDC team will be creating, importing models and things like that. So you can create this kind of like definition of who is going to do what, and you can use our user guide to help you with that, because the user guide will have like every single information that you need to define these agendas. But the main thing is that we are here to help. So if you need help like setting up these agendas, if you need help with from us to empower you to become a trainer inside of your company, or even for us to conduct the training, please reach out, because we would love to make sure that you guys are successful while using the platform, right? So just a quick review of like this process, right? So let's define the teams that are going to be using. What are the tool sets that you want to like spread around the different teams? Like what is the expected level of engagement for these teams? And then assigning the permissions and then training and empowering them. Okay. So this is just a review, and please let us know if like you have any challenges with that and things like that, so we can reach out and help. Cool. So let's go now into the tips and tricks. So the first one is related to the callout updates, where we made a recent change on this, where now and when you add a callout, this was kind of like a request from a lot of users, right? So when you add a callout to the site, so this new callout tool over here, when you hover it on, you can place it whatever you want, but if you hover it, they put that on top of like an object, that callout will take the name of that object automatically, right? But the main change over here now is that once you place in a callout, if I rotate my screen, that callout is not following the screen, right? So if I look at this angle, I cannot read what's going on that callout. But now in the adjust function, you have this option over here to face the label to the screen. So I'm expecting a round of applause for that. Okay, so so now if this face label to the screen, you can see that the callout will like follow my camera angle wherever I go. So this will help people kind of like understand better, and it's more legible to what's going on that callout. When you turn this on, you cannot control the orientation of the callout, but if you turn it off, you can fix that rotation and the tilt, right, to whatever you want. And an extra thing over here is that with both the callout and the 3D labels, they have you can change like there is like a new padding over here. So if I place like put it like a line, you see that the corners over here are not like a straight corner anymore. It's just like a rounded. So you can choose the corner radius for that like little thingy over there. So the padding of your callout, so like how much space you want between the border and the text, right? So these are minor adjustments that I think that the marketing team will really like, you know. So yeah, Anthony, you can place that flat on a surface. If you're doing that, I would suggest that you do it with the instead of like using the call out, you use the 3D label tool, because now, like for example, if I go over here into this roof, I can go in and place in a label, and that will adapt to whatever face you're placing it. Like you see, if I place it over here and place it over there, and after you place the label, you can also add a leader to it. So depending on what you're doing, let's like put in this drawn little guy over here. I can go into my just function, bring this object here, change the stem location, and just define that this is drawn. Cool. So now you have it over there, and you can play around with like the positioning of everything. Aaron, that's a very good request. I'll make sure that the team give that as an option as well. Okay.
And then we
So
had another question from Drew about what you were showing with arranging teams. The question is, when will that update of teams roll out? I believe everything that you showed is already in the product.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. There's no updates over there. This is just like me, like bringing some information related to how other people are organizing their teams. But this, you can already create this today. So you just need to go over here on your company settings, into user management, and then you click on teams, and then you can create teams and add people into these teams. Cool. Okie dokie. Okay, so callouts like that. Now let's go into the importing Revit faces, right? So this has been like a request that a lot of people have, not a lot of people, but like some people have like mentioned if we can do this as of today. So the quick answer is that cmBuilder does not recognize the phases that are assigned in the Revit file. Like we want to put that as an update for like the future. But basically, when you bring in a Revit file from like into cmBuilder, every single geometry that is inside of the file will be converted. Like if you have linked files, those won't be converted, but what belongs on that main file will be converted. Even if the elements are hidden, if they belong on different work sets, if they belong on different phases, everything will be converted straight like into cmBuilder, right? So what you can do to work and like bring in phases into cmBuilder is to apply those phases in Revit and then export an IFC file with that as a filter, right? So you can export them filtered like that, and it's super simple, right? So if you want to review which phases you have assigned already in Revit, you just need to scroll down over here, and then you go into the phase filter, and you can apply that phase filter over there, and show blah blah blah, and then you can see like these are the elements that belong to phase one, and then you're gonna export this into an IFC, and when you go to File, go into Export, click on IFC, you going to modify setup, and there are two options over here. One is you choose which phase you want to export here, and this will just export the geometry that belongs to that phase, or you can create your own like visibility state of parts that are visible, parts that are, if they are not visible, there and so on. And you go into additional content and then export only elements visible in view, right? So that way this you cannot select this anymore because it will apply whatever visibility you have at this stage, right? So once you do that, you will get like now a IFC file that will have a only that geometry. So you can rename that to like I already exported this, so like I will open, but like you can rename that to like help you identify in cmBuilder which element is what, right? But basically, this will export just that geometry into an IFC, and you can use that as your filter for phasing. Okay. Cool. Let's go to the next step. Split mesh plane support, right? So this is something that I've noticing that sometimes people make this mistake when they're working with the split mesh tool. But basically, the default of cmBuilder when you click to start the split mesh, the split geometry is to let you put the sketch support in any phase, right? So we need to make sure that you're selecting the correct support for your sketch. Otherwise, your cuts will be like all messed up, right? So basically, if I have a geometry like this, every time that you're bringing in a drone geometry or a geometry from Google Maps, it's very rare that you're gonna have a straight face. So you can see over here that like all of these faces are jagged and like all kind of like distorted and whatnot. And the same thing will apply to your drone scan. So if I am going into edit beam model and I split this geometry, when I create a line, every time that I'm creating a sketch, there are two options to define where that sketch is. So one is Z-plane, where like regardless of where I place my mouse, that sketch will be placed flat with Z, right? Or by default for the sketching, for the split geometry tool, it shows object. So as you can see, I can, if I place my sketch on the exact same location that I had the other one, this sketch will be vertical. So whatever I draw over here, like in terms of splitting this geometry, will be applied like orthogonal to this sketch. So this is why it's important that we select the correct faces, right? For example, if I wanted to do like a horizontal split over here, this split that I drew is not gonna help with that because it's gonna be orthogonal to that face, and like we'll kind of like propagate all the way up to the end over here, and like we'll slice a bunch of other geometries, you know? So to avoid that, if you're working with let's say a drone scan or a scan like this from Google Maps, you can like put in an object to help you put that sketch on a vertical face. So I usually use a little cube. So you just go into the resource library, place in a cube over here where you have like a vertical face to use, and then you can go into edit model, split, create line, and then use this as your anchor. So now that's a vertical face. Okay. So keep that in mind because, like, let's say they have like a taller tower over here. You want to slice that up in several different levels, so you can do like a demolition kind of like simulation. So if you use a sketch that has an angle, you will have like your slicing elements will be completely wrong. Okay. Cool, 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 cool. Awesome. So let's go here to the next tips that I have for you guys. I keep like hitting the wrong button, but
Just
basically,
before you do, we
whoops.
do we do have a couple of questions.
Mhm.
So any interest in having an add-in for Revit that would export IFCs directly to cmBuilder? That'd be a feature request, good feature request for us to have a look at. We do have the integration with Autodesk Construction Cloud that does that.
Mhm.
If you want to let us know in the chat if you want that in addition. You want the Revit integration in addition to the ACC integration, and that you're aware of the ACC integration. Please let us know about that. And then Koi says if something's labeled as demolished in a phase, they will not get exported as part of that phase, even if you see them as red or transparent in Revit.
Cool, cool, cool. There you go. That was more like a tip for the rest of the team. And I like that people are liking the comments in the request because that let us know what are the like what is the popularity of that request. Okay, so getting towards the end over here, foundation walls. So different ways of creating foundation walls in cmBuilder. So I have 3 different options over here. You can use excavation colors, you can use 3D lines, or you can use a proper resource, right? So if I go back into my main scenario here, and I created this cut, right? So let me do the same thing like right beside of it. So I'm gonna create a cut over here on my terrain. And with this cut, I can choose if I want to use this first option, that is the excavation colors. I can define like what is the color of the sides of that cut, right? By just going over here. The second option is the color for the sides. So this you won't be able to control like when that color will show up. It's just like embedded into the cut. So you have like that constraint by using that. But if you want to work like a little bit faster, you can do things like this, right? If you want to control when like something will show up, you have like another option. That this is something that I kind of like accidentally found out like defined with a customer. Basically, using a line that is projected on the ground will give you this kind of like effect of like almost like you're creating a foundation wall over here with like some sort of like uh, foundation support at the bottom, right? So you want to do something like that, you can create a line and you can draw like a shape. Nikon, can you mute yourself? And then you can like snap these lines into the walls like that. You click on snap, click on the line, click on the wall, click on snap, the line and the wall. And if that line is projected on the ground, you have that effect where like the line just drapes around that shape, and you can define like what is the thickness of your line over here to kind of like represent that very quickly, that something is different on that wall at that stage, right? So this is another method. You can like put in different colors over here and so on and so forth, right? So, and the third method is to actually use a resource. So we have a resource in our library that is the foundation wall resource. And you can click on this. If you go into the category building elements and the subcategory foundation, there will be like a perimeter wall with a foundation in concrete. So I could draw the same shape like I did with the line, but actually I'm going to project the shape of the line because it's easier. And when I hit confirm, by default, these walls, they are projected on the terrain. But because that line of the sketch falls exactly on the face, the software doesn't know if the object's supposed to be on the lower part of where you drew or like the upper part. So like I usually just click on deactivate this project on terrain, and you go into the adjust function to adjust this to like the shape that you want. So you can bring this to the correct height and then bring this inwards to the correct kind of like width. And then you have other capacities over here in terms of like making the wall like thicker, and there's a bunch of stuff that you can do. Like for example, if I go underneath, I can like expand this into like into the other side to like control a little bit better like what is the shape of this foundation wall. Okay, so keep that in mind. You have 3 different options to choose from, and use it wisely. Okay, can project visuals. Probably you're talking about presentation visuals, right? Be applied to your work in a feature update. Good feature request. Yes, everything can be done, but like it's just a matter of like us focusing on that based on your guys' requests. Okay, so to finish up the year with a bang over here, I want to give you guys a sneak peek of the Google Maps integration. Where's the round of applause? No, no, crickets. Okay, so the Google Maps integration is something that a lot of people have been requesting, right? So we are taking steps towards like developing this. Is like the main feature that we're working on at the moment, and turns out that the feature to turn out to be like harder, like more challenging than we expected at first. That's why like you haven't seen much about it like in the last couple updates. But today I want to show a little bit of sneak peek of like how this is gonna work. Okay, so one quick thing is if you want, we are putting together a group of people to be beta testers of this feature to work with it for a while, and just let us know like what are the feedback and things that are working well, things that are not working well, so we can just like improve that before we actually release for everyone. Okay, so if you want to be a beta tester, please let us know over here on the chats. Just say I do, and we will reach out. We won't be able to have everybody as beta testers at the beginning, so like we will like if you don't get an invite, please don't hold us accountable for that. We're just trying to figure out like what are the best fit for us, and yeah, let's jump right into it. Okay, so as you can see, I'm gonna show over here like how the feature is gonna work in the future. So we're gonna create a project, and I'm just gonna say Google Maps integration, right? And when I create a project here, let's go to New York. I heard it's lovely this time of the year over there. Might be snowing like crazy. So, okay. So we will, at this part of the process, everything is the same. So I'm going to click to generate a map. And this is going to take a while to like fetch that information from Mapbox. That's our standard map creation today, right? So you see things like that with the same white blocks and whatnots, but there will be a third option over here, Google 3D tiles. So when I select this, it would take some time, and this will change to the Google 3D tiles. And in here, I have to choose what are the area what is the area that I want to have a higher quality, right? So one of the things about this tool is that we cannot generate everything in high quality, because otherwise like this will bug down your performance like crazy. So we need to choose areas where like you're going to focus on your what is the quality that you want. So let's say that I want this area over here to be high quality. I can expand that a little bit more, or I can like make it smaller and whatnot. So my suggestion when this is live, try to make it as smaller as possible to like save some performance. And when you click to apply and create the scenario, We will jump into the scenario, and 1, 2, 3. Frankenstein, voila, it's alive. Look at that. Whoa. So this will be our kind of like starting point when you're working with Google Maps, right? So this is where you're gonna look like. And you guys ready for this? We have over here in the settings, there will be this option where you can extend your map display both on presentation mode or in site plan mode, where we will be able to, where's the second step of this process? Look at that. So we will be able to generate the whole map like in an infinite horizon kind of thing, right? Of course, like as far as you are from the area that you choose to have the higher quality, the quality will decay, right? So as you can see over here, the quality is kind of like, right? So closer to the selection we have the highest quality, and that's what you're gonna be using for your site plan, right? And the next thing is that you'll be able to create an area that we don't know yet which name we're going to use for this, but let's say that your work area is going to be at this location. We will be able to now select this area, and when I hit OK, this whole area now is going to be converted into a working area where I can connect that to my timeline to define, like, I want to get to this point, seeing this whole geometry, and then I want that geometry to go away after a certain milestone. But when I hit OK here, this becomes I won't say flat, because this will take like the geometry of the terrain coming from Google as well. And now I'm ready to start working. So look at that. I have access to this, and I can start placing cranes and start creating excavations and going crazy over here with my planning directly from this amazing kind of like view. Cool. So with that, I will exit with a bang and let you guys dream about this feature that it's coming very soon. Cool. Any questions? Of course, there are a bunch of questions about this feature, but anything that I can work on right now. Exceeded expectations. Ha! I love the dev team will be love to hear that. Okay. So just recapping here of what we are what we went through. So we talked about the new layout. We talked about how to organize your team in cmBuilder, different tips and tricks, and I gave you a sneak peek about what is to come related to Google Maps integration. And yeah, this is the main part of our workshop. Feel free to continue like asking questions over here on the chat. And if I don't see you again, like until the next year, have a great holiday season and enjoy family. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks for joining. Appreciate the interest in the Google Maps integration testing. We'll reach out.